5, 4, 3. You live.
Hey everybody, and thank you for joining us for the 90th week of the Free Assange Vigil series. My name is Andrew Smith. I am joined tonight by co-hosts Steve Poikinen and Misty Winston, and we have very special guest Jordan Renee with us. But before we get into that, I do want to go through the numbers with you. We have 3,752 days since the start of the illegal and arbitrary detention of Julian Assange. We have 706 days since the WikiLeaks founder was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy after being sold to the United Kingdom for a $4.2 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund to the nation of Ecuador. We have 705 days since the political persecution of Ola Bini started at the hands of the Ecuadorian government. 73 days since Judge Vanessa Bracer denied Julian Assange bail after ordering his release and ruling no extradition on January 4th. It is 1,376 days of federal incarceration for whistleblower Reality Winner. We have 369 days of freedom for Chelsea Manning. So we did just pass the 1 year mark, I believe, on Friday. So super special shout out and congrats to Chelsea. And we do have a little bit of cool stuff planned to talk about that as well this evening. But in awesome news too, we have 17 days of mostly freedom for Jeremy Hammond. He is under restrictions, but he is home. So congratulations, Jeremy. But with that, how are you doing today, Steve?
Oh, it's always crazy. Yeah, no, I'm all right, man. I am. I'm looking forward to being able to see at least some of you guys again here in about 3 weeks, because we're holding our first West Coast event for Action for Assange on April 11th in Los Angeles. We just figured this out last night too. We're going to meet at there's the CBS building on Sunset and Gorman in Hollywood in Los Angeles. We're going to go up a block, march down Hollywood Boulevard, and then go back down, I think, Cahuenga to the CNN building. And we'll start at noon. Pasta and Fee and Johnny Hollywood, Johnny Buttons, Johnny Camera, Johnny No Show. They will be joining us for another Fuck Censorship event. And Pasta just called me a little while ago. There's the possibility or the real potentiality of an additional anti-war organization joining the event as well. So what we're going to do the day before at I think a West Side Hollywood restaurant, we're going to have a press panel. We're going to invite as many of the LA independent media as we can. We know we're going to be able to accommodate about 50 to 60 people. Indoor and outdoor, it will be socially distanced. It will be as safe as you would like to make it. I'm sure if we're indoors, they're going to make people, put on a mask. So you do not have to fear. You don't. And we're going to have a press panel for independent media and organizers. And what we'd like to do is sort of broadly hit why the Assange case is important to both media and organizers, and then specifically go at why it's important for independent media and organizers to be concerned with covering this and active in it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be.
Move your mic a little bit, Steve.
Pardon?
Move your mic a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Sorry. This is obviously not my usual space. I was supposed to have internet at the new studio space I'm moving into that didn't show up. So, yeah, sorry. I forgot where I was too. I was trying to talk about the event, and I just wandered off into your.
Okay, so what? Okay, so is April 9th and 11th is that the days that you guys are planning for LA?
Because we realized how hard it would be to get people anywhere in Los Angeles Friday evening. So April 10th, I think we're gonna start around like 1 o'clock. Doors at noon kind of thing. People can come in and is at a restaurant and eat. And then the following day at noon for the actual We Are All Assange event, because this last one was Clovers for Assange. This one's going to follow the hashtag We Are All Assange. It'll mark 2 years since Julian was violently and illegally dragged out of the embassy on April 11th.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
International Day of Action. Please hold an event with us. If you need help, hit us up. Let us know. We'll do whatever we can. But yeah, 2 years. 2 years. And if you guys want to talk about how insane that is, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I would like to talk about how insane that is. Can we do that? Well, first of all, I am super pumped because our guest today is an amazing person. We got to meet in DC. She's an artist and a beautiful singer. She sang an amazing song at one of our events that we had on St. Patrick's Day. She's an activist. Yeah, so we have Jordan Renee with us as our guest today. And so, you know, I'm really pumped to have you on the show. Thanks for coming to our events. It's always cool to meet like people, you know, out in the streets and talk face to face. So yeah, thanks for being here, first of all.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It's such an honor.
But yeah, now can we talk about a little bit about how fucking insane it is that it's been 2 years since Julian Assange has been in Belmarsh? You guys, 2 years. He's a journalist. Like, no history of violence. He's not really a threat physically to anybody. He's just this like kind of skinny Australian dude who kind of just gives people the truth. But he's in a supermax prison surrounded by COVID and freezing. Maybe not freezing anymore because it's starting to warm up, but he froze all winter long. You know, and that's like happening out, like that's not being hidden. We all know, like that's a thing that we all know it's happening, but it's still just happening. 2 years. Like seriously, it gives me like very little hope for the future that this is something that's gone on for 2 years. Does anybody else feel that way? Because I feel that way today. It pisses me off. Anybody? Bueller? No, just me?
I mean, I have lots of thoughts, but I was
waiting for Jordan.
Oh. Hello.
Yeah, let Jordan talk for a minute, man.
Again, thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, of course.
I really can't believe I've been watching you all, you know, for a while, and I'm just like, wow, I'm here. Okay. So yeah, the shock is there, but yeah, I don't know what it's going to take is what gets me. I don't know what it's going to take for us to really come into consciousness. Like today I had to ask my roommates, like, oh, do you mind guys going to the basement today? Because my mic might be sensitive and I just didn't want things. And they were like, oh, for what? And it's about Julian Assange. And I had to explain everything. Or I didn't explain everything, but I had explained the basic things. And, you know, I don't fault them necessarily because I mean, I look at our very shitty media and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, we just have to move on and continue to talk and be vocal, I guess, because I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to take. And I don't know how much longer we're going to last at this pace. And I don't, because this man, like, if it was them, like, because I keep having in my mind, well, if only they knew, but I'm also like, I don't think that would do much either, because I was refreshing my mind on the timelines and info about the case, and I just can't believe there are people who are really saying he should stay locked up, or with Chelsea Manning, like, yeah, she should go to jail. And a lot of those people are just upset people who do not like trans people, but who are like military hawks and people who that's sort of what I grew up around. Like in this area, like I live in Northern Virginia, like it's I don't know what to do. Like, and I've been in this area for most of my life. I grew up with 2 military officer parents, you know, and a line of that, and it's just I remember, actually, you know what I'll say? I remember when there's a distinct memory of mine, and that was sort of a political awakening when I knew I was different from my parents, when I knew I was like, oh, we're not on the same page here. And it was back in 2007. No, not 2000, 2009. And I believe it had to be, that was around when Edward Snowden released the documents, right? Or somewhere, it was somewhere around 2008, 2009. And it was either, it had something to do with Edward Snowden. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember looking at the news with my parents and seeing like, oh, he revealed that the government had done something wrong. Just that simple point. And I was like, oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. Why is he going to jail? You know, he shouldn't be in jail. And my parents looked at me and they were just like, well, he released things that should not have been in the government, that things that should not have been released. And I was just like, but he still is exposing things that were bad. And I think I was like 12 or 13 at this point. And I was just like, why are we having a disconnect here? I thought you're raised to be Christian. You're raised like with all these morals and stuff. Like, I'm so confused.
Isn't it fascinating though? Like really, because we're all taught like as kids growing up that, you know, if you see something, say something, you know, and it like trying to do the right thing. But then when you're adults, that all goes out the window and it's the complete opposite. And, you know, you'll find yourself making excuses for war criminals and demonizing truth tellers. And it's this really weird thing that happens. And I don't know what that is, but it's like, I don't know what that is, but it's terrifying.
At the same time, I think to myself in the way I was born, like we're just marking all off military, Christian, like all of these things and like of these repressive identities, like on a person's human soul, like like which, you know, and I've learned now there are other ways to be Christian, and I'm not like just Christian bashing at all. Military bashing, yes, but like at the same time, I wasn't taught to to see something, say something. At the same time, I was never taught really how to express myself like courageously. Like they teach you if you see something, say something, but they don't teach you to be courageous. Like that's because that's
I
not
don't know if you can
necessarily
teach that necessarily.
that's not right, and that's not necessarily being courageous either. If you see something, say something, because that's just if you see something based on whatever you've been taught on what's bad or not, like and that's what I think we're dealing with a lot of with a big lack of courage, and that's a big lack of courage within the American psyche, because I don't think that's been something, at least within my lifetime, that has been actually true courage, like individualized courage, not just like collective groupthink courage. Like true individualized courage is not something that's been really promoted. I mean, probably not even in the history of the United States.
It's like, especially as far as whistleblowers go, it's
Mhm.
demonized. I mean, look at the ways people speak about Edward Snowden and about Chelsea Manning and how they, have spoken about John Kiriakou and every other whistleblower that, reveals something that they don't want revealed. Those people are demonized and they're degraded and lied about, smeared. It's ridiculous the way that we treat our truth tellers. But that's, like, we talk about a lack of courage. That's why. I mean, who wants to deal with that? You know what's coming. You know what's coming. They will come for you. They will wreck your life in whatever way they can. Let's be real. That's what financially, they'll tie you up in legal I mean, if something, they've made it clear. I mean, we've talked about it. Julian Assange is like the proverbial head on a stake. It's a warning. This is what happens. Don't mess with us. You know, Chuck Schumer said it on like Sunday morning MSNBC. They have, maybe it was CNN. I don't know. They have 6 ways a Sunday to get you back. And they will. I mean, they've proven that. I mean, look at what they're doing to Julian Assange in broad daylight. They're torturing him. Just the decade-long propaganda campaign against this one person.
Well, look
I mean,
what they were doing in the dark with UC Global.
Yeah.
Where the CIA was coordinating through Sheldon Adelson's casino to work with the security firm of the Ecuadorian government that was guarding Moreno's children.
Yeah.
Or not Moreno, I apologize. Who's the president there? Is it Moreno?
Of Ecuador?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had that wrong for a second.
No, but yeah, you're right though. Like the fact that y'all, and just the things that we've like had come out in that whole case, the fact that they were like taking every guest that he had, they would take all of their electronics, they would like hack into them, download them, steal their stuff, look through their briefcases. Like it was like full blown spying, espionage on everybody associated with Julian Assange that came through that building. And then they spied on every minute of his life. There were microphones in the women's bathroom. That's the extent of it. They were stealing his children's diaper, or his child's diaper, to try to get, you know, a paternity test to find out if it was his or not. Like that's fucked up. And that's not like seen as an outrage that his human rights were violated to that extreme. I mean, would you be okay with that happening to you? Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that that's fucking ridiculous? I'm sorry. Like, what universe is that okay? Where I don't care if you like the person or if you think that the person, you could think that Julian Assange is like the worst human being on planet Earth, and that's still not okay. That's not how things should work. That's fucked up. You know what I mean? You're in a legal battle against like a massively powerful empire, you know, the United States of America, really the Five Eyes, and they're spying on your conversations with your lawyer. You can't participate in your own defense. The CIA is getting every conversation that you have sent to them. So they can, you know, figure out what kind of defense you're going with to whatever degree they could hear. I don't know. I mean, I know Julian was very cognizant of the fact that was probably something that was happening. You know, and people used to laugh at him and call him paranoid. You know, I think he was right. So yeah, it's crazy. The human rights violations against Julian Assange throughout this whole ordeal are astonishing, and it's just accepted. It's nuts. It like seriously boggles my mind. I cannot figure out how that makes sense in any universe ever. Sorry, bring it over.
So Jordan, you were out there in DC with us.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about your impressions of it, about how, like just in general, like what you thought of the event and how it went out there?
Yeah. The first day was really, really cool. I mean, I'll talk like a little bit like emotionally, like at the beginning, like before a lot of people got there, because it was just it felt so perfect, because I just could feel the energy of like the few of us who got there really early, because I just took the metro and I was like there really early for some reason, and there were like two groups of people. I think whoever I forget their name, Fisher, who does just like the
Ford,
yeah, Ford and
Fisher, yeah.
And their friend was they were there, and there were these two older men, and they started talking after a little bit, and like I'm very much introverted in some ways, especially with new people, so I was just kind of standing, you know, like just kind of nervous, trying to look like I'm not freaking out or something, and I felt that energy from like 4 other people we were all just kind of standing in different little pockets in front of NBC and Fox News, and all of us being like, well, we know we care, but we don't want to talk right now, like just that nervousness. And I just love that energy because it's just like this. I don't know. For me, and maybe I'm just projecting on the other people. It was more of this feeling of like, I don't trust anyone here. I don't trust anyone. Like I don't trust the government. I don't know. Is there anyone here who's like a mole? I don't know. Like just the most paranoid stuff for no reason. But
Well, it's
but
stuff like that too. Like we had the National Guard fence across the street from us. Like, we were
wasn't
here
helping.
at the box building, and the National
That
Guard
does
were right there.
and a certain ambiance, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
and I finally saw what that was because I'd heard about it, and I was like, oh, there's barbed
Yeah.
wire. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's where we are now. Okay. This is fine. This is normal. Everything's great.
How there was money, to rebuild the Capitol, like with that bill they passed. It's so convenient. It's great. But yeah, it was really. But once I opened up, I once Fiorella and Pasta came up because I'd been watching them for years now, and I was just fangirling a little bit, just being like, "Hi, thank you for your service." But after that, everything was pretty cool, and I started talking to other people, and there was like the great dog there and everything. But I walked away on the next day being like, I have really truly met my intellectual people. It felt so great to be around people who have looked into things that I've looked into, gone down rabbit holes I've gone down, researched things I have researched, and really, as hopeless things can feel, I don't know what that sound was. As hopeless as things can feel, like day to day about everything that's happening, especially with Assange and freedom of speech, and the techno-fascist era we're entering into. Like, at least I know if I'm at an Assange rally or a protest, I know I'm with people who are dealing with reality. To me, to me, to be an Assange supporter of his freedom, that is dealing with the reality of where our country is at right now. And I feel like, especially being in Northern Virginia right now, I feel like I'm just surrounded by delusions and people who are fine with delusions. And so I felt very much at home, and it was really great to be walking down the streets. The truck was amazing. I met some people, 2 people that I happened to meet from Brooklyn, and like they were just telling me all this stuff about their life, just like out the gate, because I just feel like, for me, like once I feel comfortable when I feel intellectually comfortable, like, and that's not the only way I can feel comfortable around someone, of course, but like when I feel like I can just talk about all of these things that are happening politically, like, and it's fine to be in a place of discourse. Like, I'm definitely not about, being in my own bubble or whatever. But when I feel like I know that person has seen America for what it is accepted and is trying to do something about it, I too can just completely overshare and just feel good. To just talk about things that I've discovered, and especially like after the first day, and we all hung out, like that was like really great. And
Steve had to leave unexpectedly. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, his internet. Like, for once, I'm not the only one with bad internet. So Steve had to bounce. So yeah. But yeah, Jordan, you're totally right. Like, that's my favorite thing about doing stuff like that, is that you're with like minds. Like, you don't have to shy away from conversations. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you're able to have discussions with people on a certain level, and they get it. I totally understand what you're saying. Like, it's this kind of just like, oh, okay, I'm with people that also know. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but in my little like shithole town in Ohio, I'm kind of I'm like an island amongst a bunch of just no idea what's going on. Like, they think Barack Obama is a good guy, or they think Trump was a good guy, or you know what I mean? Like, it's hard. So yeah, when you're in like a space where everybody is able to have conversations about certain things, that's always good. That's always a fun time. And I love getting to meet, like, I'm super awkward. Like, I know I say that all the time, but you guys don't know. Like, really, I am. And so, like, I kind of like hate meeting people, but I also love it. Like, if that makes sense at all. Like, the first time I met Lee Camp in January when he came to our event in DC, I like ran out to him like a dork. Hey, Lee, oh my God, man, thanks so much for coming. I'm Misty. I host the vigils, and just thanks for so much for coming. And he's like, yeah, you're welcome. And then I just turned around and walked away. Like, such a dork. Yeah, so I get the whole, like, being awkward, but also feeling like you can talk to people. It's good stuff.
Well, there's so much like collective negativity in DC that like you can feel it.
Yes,
Like,
you
as
can.
you go into the city, like it's designed to weigh down on you. So like getting in and trying to like build our friction and like build that energy up when you're amongst these just like marble sandstone buildings designed to make you feel.
I just let it make me angry, honestly, because honestly, you can feel it. You can feel it when you're in DC. I know that sounds weird, but it's oppressive. Like, it feels oppressive. And especially like we show up to the was it the Fox News building and the CNBC building, and the Capitol's right there, and there's like barbed wire surrounding the Capitol. And that was like and so I just let it piss me off. Like, that's you have to take it that way, because otherwise you really can feel like, it's a lot. That is a lot of evil in one place.
It's also really frustrating driving through there, and you see all the Black Lives Matter stuff everywhere and all these businesses, and then like Black Lives Matter next to like a Joe Biden sign, like, and I'm just like, you don't care. You don't care. And actually there's this really weird authoritarian like sign that they just recently put up near the near the Navy Yard, like on Main Street. And it's like this huge quilt I think they made, and it's like rainbow colors, and it's a picture of it's not a picture, but it's like a recreation of Kamala Harris, and all it says is "I'm speaking," and I guess that's from her like debate thing. But to me, I did not take that as empowering at all, because first of all, I know about her, like actually know about her, and just don't see her as some identity for me to look up to at all.
Representation, y'all.
But that was the scariest part about the whole inauguration. Like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like you had literally military there only showing their eyes, like looked like special forces, fully fucking armed out, with Kamala Harris with her like double mask Anthony Fauci going on, like, hey, everything's okay, guys. Nothing weird's happening in America.
I mean, but you guys, it seriously is it's a joke. It's
no, it was just saying "I'm speaking," like that was, I felt so uncomfortable, because that's just laying so much groundwork, or it's not even the foundation. It's literally another soil layer of the authoritarianship that we're heading into.
Yes,
like just saying,
but it's very cleverly disguised, honestly. Like, they're very clever about disguising it as feminism or whatever, because like everybody keeps telling me that I should be excited because there's a female vice president for my daughters to look up to. Fuck off. If my daughters looked up to Kamala Harris, I would be disappointed. I would feel like I failed as a parent. I'm not even kidding. Like, there's nothing to look up to there. Are you kidding me? That's who you want your role model for your daughter to be? Gross. And then like, we have like a female head of the CIA now. Yay, more female torturers. Fuck off. Like, that's gross. Are you kidding? I don't give a shit that it's a woman. It doesn't make it any better. No, that's ridiculous. Stop it. Stop that. Stop that nonsense. Oh my God, when shit libs say that to me, I get so angry. Are you kidding? I'm a mother. That's not what I want for my girls to look up to. It's ridiculous.
And my first Nico House video after watching him on Jimmy Dore, like back in 2016 or 17 or something, was the video he
Shout
did
out to
that
Nico.
Right. Yeah. And but his first video that I watched was when he reported and got very popular about his Kamala's father being disappointed in her.
Yeah.
It was so great. It was just so shady. I was like, wow, okay, all right. Actually, I don't even think I knew too much about who Kamala was, but I was like, yeah, she's being very hypocritical out here. Apparently, she potentially should be fired now. Like,
When did she get fired, you guys? When did she get fired? I want to know, because she said that she has smoked weed in the past. In fact, she smoked weed so good that she time traveled and listened to Tupac. I mean, I want that kind of weed. So if anybody gets fired, it should be Kamala Harris. I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
I
mean,
we've seen the prison labor supply. Like, obviously.
Should give back to her industry, you know? Just gotta give back.
You guys, Steve is so right. I wish he was here right now, because we live in a fucking cartoon. The fact that Joe Biden is president and Kamala Harris is vice president, and she didn't even get any delegates. She didn't even make it to the first primary. Like, she couldn't even hold down her own home state. And I'm supposed to be excited that that's like who's going to be president in like a year, because Joe Biden, can't put a sentence together, even with all the crazy editing and deepfake shit that they probably have going on. I mean,
well, look at we have I love the WikiLeaks guy being president for 4 years,
dude, the host of The Apprentice
that put Julian fucking in prison, that didn't pardon him, and then was fighting the deep state and turned it over to Joe. He's the cyber terrorist Biden. But Trump was supposed to be the one that was fighting the deep state. Like, that's the part.
Yeah,
like,
no, there's lots of parts. I mean, there's the fact that, we had Barack Obama, who was just a self-admitted continuation of George W. Bush. He bragged about being a moderate Republican. I just said this the other day. It doesn't matter who is president. It really does not. Like, people keep saying, who would be a better president, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? It really doesn't matter. It really does not. It's the same agenda. It is the same policy. It's going to be the same. There will be different window dressing on it. There will be different, methods of delivery just based on, personality differences or tweaking or whatever. So yeah, it really does not matter. That's not the president. The president really does not matter. I don't know how to make people understand that, but the president has very little control. I think there's, pretty much a set agenda going on, and that person is just a continue. They're all, come on, Joe Biden's in charge of what? Come on. No, it's just not the way it works.
You just have to be very, very out of touch of what's like happening. Like, that's why independent media is so important, because you have to be very out of touch to really be gung-ho for Joe Biden.
Independent media. I know I say it all the time, but I'm not. People, I had somebody the other day tell me that when the only reason I say this because I want people to donate to me. No, I don't. You guys, that's no. I don't know what people think that like I'm out here grifting. What are you talking about? No, I support independent media because it's important, because we need people who are telling stories outside the approved narrative. Like, that's so. I'm a huge fan of independent media. Like, that's my whole jam. You know what I'm saying? Get over it.
It saves sanity. It saves my sanity, because I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't found Jimmy Dore back in 2016. I think it was like.
Yeah, Jimmy kept me sane for a little while too.
Yeah. I mean,
like his anger, like his justifiable rage, because I have a lot of that justifiable rage. And his rants, because I'm a ranter, it makes me like, I feel like I'm not alone, because I'm like, I don't know, people who get mad at him for being angry, are you really? There are people dying. People are dying, and you're mad because Jimmy Dore is yelling? What is wrong with you that's a thing that you're like allowing yourself to be upset about? You should be yelling. You should be pissed off. You should be telling AOC to fuck off. Are you kidding? People are dying. I'm going to say it again. People are dying. This isn't a joke. It's not a game. Like, their inaction, their failures mean people die. We should all be yelling at them because they're all failing horribly, look at what is happening around you. We have gotten how much money over the course of a year for a pandemic? Like nothing, crumbs. Like you've gotten, most other major countries are getting like some monthly payment of some kind, or a percentage of their wages are being paid, or and you don't have health care, and you have gotten jack fucking shit.
Like, aren't we paying their salaries as well? Like,
yes, and their health care and their retirement and all of that, and they're failing you. They have like an abysmal approval rating, and you're mad because Jimmy Dore's yelling. Ugh.
Well, the power behind it's not even the YouTubes in the show. It was, to me, the in-person Jimmy Dore, the like stand-up comedian that got
awesome.
That got fucking 200-300 organizers and activated and like-minded people that you could be like, hey, let's talk about this issue. You're like, yeah. Fuck slavery, go free speech. Like, and like everyone in that room got it and got there. That
was so much. I'm serious. I'm not a Jimmy Dore or whatever.
And that's what the pandemic killed. Honestly, that's the power that Jimmy Dore wielded that they took from him. Was those, he literally held a protest every time he would do a tour.
Yes, at every show, basically, it turned into a protest of some kind. Like,
and that's
like Andrew and Taylor turned it into an Assange protest. Like we were standing outside in line holding signs that said Chelsea Manning is being tortured and journalism is not a crime. I still have my 2 signs that me and my husband held.
We were in line. We made it to like 3 of the last 8 Jimmy Dore events as like our crew. So I was super proud about that.
Yeah,
one of my biggest regrets.
You're right, that's what the pandemic has killed. Because seriously, Jimmy Dore live show, I mean, I only got to go to one, but the one I went to was so much fun. Andrew's right. It was like my people. It was being surrounded by my people. And then Jimmy is super funny. And actually, Graham was really funny that night. He was like, I remember Jimmy was getting mad, like, quit being funnier than me on stage. Remember that, Andrew, when he was saying that? That was funny.
Jimmy redid his whole thing to fit in like 3 or 4 pieces about Julian, like just because we were there and because we made a presence and we were like, hey, let's talk about this issue. He's like, okay, like let me redo my show, and then put him up on YouTube and got 10,000 views on him later.
Yeah,
he cares about principles, like that. He has principles, and that is something that is so rare nowadays. And that, like, because everyone's just really chasing checks. And that's why, which is a form, like I recognize, like we are all enslaved unless you're like Bezos, who has a fucking DLC in life to build a clock underground for some reason. And but everyone else is like, you really are enslaved by this money system. But at the same time, like, we can't just stay in that sort of victim mentality. Like we have to do something about it. Like if people are yelling in your face, or at least just gently talking to you about like the oppression we're facing, like, and you just refuse to see that as your oppression, and you refuse to see it as like, something you should, like, that you should do something about it. Like, I don't know what to say. Like it's unfortunate because like there's just a huge Stockholm Syndrome problem in America, and it's not uniquely American either at all, but it's like the way it's manifested in the fact that it's just the fact that I'm just so amazed. As I was refreshing myself with information today, I was just reminded so much, like we are, I mean, if you watch Avatar, we are just the Fire Nation. Like we have bases everywhere. We are the most like I don't understand how the Democrats were actually able to run a whole election fraud campaign with Russiagate for so long, when it's not hard at all to look at how many elections we have like interfered and are interfering in constantly, like over and since our inception, really. Like I don't
including
our
own, by the way.
Our own.
Look at the 2016 primary, the 2020 primary. We interfere in our own elections far more than any other country ever interferes in our elections. That's real talk. Our elections are shit, and anybody pretending otherwise is a fool. Sorry, that's the truth.
Well, the best thing to come out of the 2020 election is everyone now realizes that the Democrats rig elections. It's not like just the Democrats that know it anymore. It's an open secret that like the Democrats will do whatever it takes, including releasing an article about their
because I feel like it is in our circles, but I feel like normies are still very clueless. Like we talk about, Jordan, you talk about like how you can't believe that this, like they're able to, run this Russiagate thing. I can. Steve says it all the time. The United States is the most propagandized country on earth. That's reality. We are unbelievable from birth. You are propagandized from birth in this country. You are lied to. You are misinformed. You are manipulated. And I understand that for a lot of people, that's a difficult thing to come to terms with because that's pretty big. Your whole everything pretty much you've ever thought about your country, your government, your history, it's all bullshit. And that's a big thing to accept.
The worst thing is that I think one of the biggest the worst thing is that let me go back. The worst thing is that there's so many people who learn so much stuff, like other stuff that's not related at all to their oppression. And so when they're thinking to themselves, I'm very informed, I'm so smart, I have all of this knowledge in this one silo of information or these two silos of information. So you're telling them that basically the foundation of everything about the way the world works and what America is different from how they've thought. They're like, no, I have all of this knowledge. There's no way I'm wrong about that. And I keep forgetting to look up exactly whose quote it was, but it was either Carter G. Woodson or W.D. Du Bois. But it's just they teach you to be smart enough so that you don't question anything, that you don't think that
there's a Carlin bit about that. George Carlin has a bit about that.
It might even be
smart enough to run the machine.
Yeah,
that's it.
Something like that. But that
smart enough to run the machine, but not smart enough to question it. That's where they want you.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like I dealt with so much of my life growing up, mostly in Northern Virginia and going into school in Virginia, and it's you have even I went through it. I studied and learned, whatever I was learning. I still feel like my degree was mostly useless except for some quantitative research skills. But you're just around a whole bunch of people who are learning, but they're not learning. They're learning something, but they're learning only a few pieces of the puzzle, not the whole. You're only given a couple pieces, and so. But enough pieces to make you think it's let's see, metaphor, say they teach you a 200 piece puzzle, but the real they give you 200 pieces for the puzzle and they're all connected together, but there's literally a whole 1,600 piece puzzle that's a part of the that's really what's happening, and so it's hard for people to be oh, a lot of what I base my values on are based on hurting other people, and people also I don't think they want to see themselves as hurting other individuals. I hate doing my taxes every year. I don't want to be arrested, even though I don't think they're fully legal. But I hate doing my taxes because I'm okay, well, let's see where that's going. It's going to someone's bomb, it's going to bombs, or it's going to grants that will allow people to bomb people, or it's going to people who will give grants to people who will bomb. And it's just it should be illegal, and it's a form of slavery for sure. And I don't know. That was my rant, because I don't even know what any question was said.
No, I do. Don't worry.
You had the government arguing in Julian's case, the prosecution saying that, well, we can't reveal these things. We don't want the public educated about torture, because then people get upset that people were tortured.
Oh, how dare you!
We tell someone that this bad thing was happening because they'll get mad about it, and we can't have people get mad about it.
No,
it might hurt their feelings.
That's inconvenient, Andrew. People being angry is very inconvenient. We'd rather just not tell them. They don't want to know. Come on, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
That's a part of it. Because you don't even have the journalism academia saying, well, yeah, we peddle classified information. That's we're journalists.
It really is just accepted. It's accepted. That's what's mind-boggling to me. That like grown ass thinking adults just accept the fact that we bomb people and steal their resources and starve and poison our own citizens, and people are just like, yeah, that's the way things work. That's the best we can do. Obviously, like, you got a lesser of two evils. You know, come on. You don't want that guy to win. It's so dumb. It's infantile. It's like this cognitive dissonance where well, we can change. It's like, or it's an abusive relationship. Well, I can change him. I can change him. I can save him. I can save her. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's an abusive relationship, and people need to snap the fuck out of it, y'all. Snap out of it. We need to stop. No, it's not working. None of this. It's Steve. Like, I keep quoting Steve. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me? I guess I miss him. I miss you, Steve. But he says all the time, you can't just like slap a couple new shiny parts on the death machine and be fine with that. You know, that's.
I mean, you touched on it. I've had so many rants, and I think I'm about to write something about this, but we have a very infantile relationship to authority and power, and that, like, within our culture, and a very parent to child. Like, we see them as they're the ones who know the way, as opposed to just like two consenting adults about this relationship of like, we're sending you as the representative to represent us and do the things that are good for us. Like, and you know, this, like,
if you don't do that, we're going to get rowdy about it.
Right. Like, it's not a business. We should be working, like, our relationship to government should be like a business partner agreement. And instead, like, we have this
our
employees.
Thing. There are employees. Literally, that's their function, is they are paid employees to represent us in government. And that is not the way. People don't look at them that way. And there's this weird, like, I don't even know, bowing down before this. Oh, well, that's a senator. Like, they must know. These people are idiots and they're psychopaths. Like, we should not be listening to them. They are not. I mean, power attracts really awful kinds of people. I mean, we know that. We just know that. If you look at any position of authority, there's a good chance there's a psychopath, or, you know what I mean, somebody who has those tendencies. Like, that's just real talk. And yeah, these are some of the most powerful people on earth. They don't get there because they're good people. That doesn't happen. That does not happen. It can't happen. You can't get to that level of power and not be corrupt and awful and willing to do horrible things for your own personal benefit. So yeah, they need to be like unbelievably scrutinized, or really just abolished. Like, we don't need, you know, no gods, no masters. Let's, like, you know,
they're not our parents. And the way I think that they keep us in this sort of like parent to child relationship is through fear. Like, they have to constantly have all of these crises happening so that we're scared and we're like, mommy and daddy, what do we do? What do we do? And that's what we do every 4 years, every 2 years, really. And it's really despicable. And you know, I just don't. But the people who want to have this more adult relationship to power and or to our government and whatever we need to do, like, you're seen as, you know, you're seen as you're a problem. You're seen as you're a criminal. Like, I mean, it's a parent to child relationship. It's also an inmate to prison guard relationship. It's also an abusive partner to abused partner relationship. It's all that stuff. And there's so many people who are dealing with those like internal abusive struggles in their own lives, and then that just gets projected onto how we handle our government system. And like, I just, like, on a psychological level, like, this is a very abused nation. Like, it was built on the foundations of that. And like, until we get to the root of that, we're not going anywhere. Like, yes. And that's why I say that, like, I took a break, honestly, from group activism, because I recognized that there was a lot of problems, particularly with college activism. Like, people are usually the issue. Like, individual mindsets, like, are usually why the cause is never reached, or there's always these inner problems in the group. And there's literally consulting drama. There's literally consulting jobs that you can do to help an activist group work out their issues. I'm just like, that's crazy when I heard that out. But I can see why it's necessary. But I just, when I took my step back, and I got very sick. I was doing way too much, and I got sick. My body was like, slow down. And I'm so glad it did, because I was able to observe and see that this is not just an external battle. This is not just us this is not just a collective thing. There is an individual component to this. Like, in order for us to heal our relationship with the idea of power, the idea of control, which is based in like self-control, and in order for us to even create a healthy government, once like we're at that point, we have to be emotionally healthy, like within ourselves. We have to have like the saying of you can't love anyone until you love yourself. Like, we can't have a good government until we govern ourselves. We're able to govern ourselves as individuals, and a lot of people don't like that's never been normalized here. It's always been about people controlling other people, and that being normalized. And that's why everyone's fine with like, oh yeah, Julian Assange, yeah, they should detain him, we should do all this stuff. We're not going to be able to heal ourselves until heal as a nation, or whatever you want, because I've been team no country, and I'm nothing really further than that. But like, I've rejected the idea that our goal is to end up having this whole country thing. But I'm open to many suggestions. But like, in order for us to reach the peace that we actually want, like, it has to be something like everyone's going to have to do their own individual work with that. And that's going to require people having time to themselves, which I think 2020 really helped people with recognizing a lot of toxicity in their own lives, not just like, especially toxicity in the government, but just like toxicity in their own lives, and healing that out. And so I think, so that stuff gives me hope as well, with people pushing out maybe unhealthy narratives that they were fed growing up. And that is hopefully going to lay a good foundation for where we're headed as a country, or where we're headed as a globe.
Yeah, that's what makes me sad though, is that the people of this country have really just been beaten down over decades. And I mean, just systematically, I mean, it's never been great. Like, I mean, America's never been great. It's always been a shithole. Let's be real. I mean, just the way that, our country is founded on genocide. That's not a great starting place. I mean, that's just not great.
The original story that we tell kids about our country is a false flag. The Boston Tea Party. Literally a bunch of white people dressed up like Indians, and we're like, "Hey, we're gonna go throw tea," and somehow right.
They didn't want to be.
And then they hear the story about 9/11, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it totally happened the way the news told me."
Oh, come on, Andrew. I'm sure they were telling the truth this time. This time's different. I mean, forget all the other dozens and dozens and dozens of times our government has lied to us.
Once the national security state takes over the country, and they rewrite the history books, and they're like, "Yeah, we had a bunch of white people pretend to be Al Qaeda and smash airplanes into buildings, but we got a country out of it."
Yeah. Oh, it's really bad. We live in a really bad time. Our country is not. I mean, I know I'm going to get a lot of angry tweets about how I'm not patriotic. You're goddamn right. I'm not patriotic at all. Not even almost. Anybody who's proud to be American needs to look in the mirror.
See, to me, being an American is being proud that you standed outside of the Department of Justice and said, "Fuck the DOJ, fuck the CIA, fuck the FBI, free Julian Assange."
I don't see that as being American, but
to me, that's the most American, because
sure, yeah, dissent is definitely, dissent is patriotic. There's a whole quote. Yeah. But yeah, patriotism is weird to me. It's very strange.
It's one of those weird words.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know why we got off on that tangent. Should we talk about Craig Murray? Because we should talk about Craig Murray.
Do you have time to stick around to do news with us?
Yeah, Jordan, do you want to stick around and talk about Craig Murray? Okay, cool.
Sure,
cool,
I'd
cool.
love, and it'll be more learning, but that's great.
Yeah. No, it's good. Craig Murray is an amazing human being. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure everybody that's watching knows who Craig Murray is. You guys are smart. But Craig Murray is an amazing human being. He is a former ambassador. He is a journalist / writer. Like it's kind of hard to peg him down because he's just brilliant. But yeah,
the indictment, he is one of the most influential journalists in all of Ireland.
Yeah, he is kind of a big deal.
Scotland,
I mean,
I think Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland.
I'm so sorry, Scotland.
Yeah.
You were so bad with that.
You are really bad at that stuff, Andrew. Andrew, it's like really terrible at names, locations.
Yeah, Mindy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, shut up.
So Craig is facing charges of breadcrumbing. So under the rule of Her Majesty in the United Kingdom, there is a law that forbids you from releasing information into the media that may potentially lead to someone possibly being identified that is still involved in a court case and they don't want that person's name out. It's literally a gag law, so to speak, about being able to represent sides in a court battle by releasing accurate and factual information. Not represent sides, but release information about sides. And in the indictment against Julian, against Craig, there's tons and tons of clerical errors. They skip numbers when they're outlining why he's actually being charged and on what grounds. But one of the most disturbing parts in the actual indictment itself, they reference his work covering Julian Assange's court case as to why he is such an influential.
Let's not pretend that this isn't directly related to his relationship with Julian Assange. Of course it is. Okay, I don't have any like smoking gun proof of that, but anybody who's paying any bit of attention to what is happening knows that this is connected to Craig Murray's relationship with Julian Assange. It's Ola Benny, just on a different level in a different country. That's the same reason they went after him. It's the same reason why they're going after Craig Murray. And they're gonna, like we have been saying, it doesn't stop with Julian Assange. And it doesn't stop with Julian Assange. They are coming for everybody. Anybody who, John Pilger, Chris Hedges. There's so many people. There are so many, George Galloway. There are so many people they will come for, including us at some point. It will trickle down, including you, like people watching this. If you don't think that this is like the slipperiest slope of all time, being able to sign, they may not come for you, but they will make sure that you never speak out against them. Dissent will be unheard of. That's where we're headed. It's scary. It's really bad. And this attack against Craig Murray is very clearly part of that. And
so what later down the timeline, right? So these charges come out against Craig Murray. He goes to court a couple times about it, writes some articles about it, blasts the judge because the judge obviously didn't even read the indictment before he released the information. Craig Murray can't cover Julian Assange's court trial from the press room. He can't get the authorized credentials because in the United Kingdom, you had to be part of the National Union of Journalists, I believe, to be able to file a petition to be able to get in and access the court trial. So he was refused access to the court trial after it was cited how wonderful his coverage was of it in a journalistic capacity. And the National Union of Journalists did nothing to stand up and defend him. They refused to renew his credentials, which leads us to him literally now having to go in with the family to cover the court trial, continued to cover it even after all of this persecution was happening surrounding it. And now he is in court legitimately facing time for an indictment which cites his work.
He's facing 2 years for some bullshit. And I do want to say this about Craig Murray. He was going through all of this while he was covering Julian's hearings, and he never once spoke about his own stuff. He always kept it focused on Julian. He never did the like, woe is me, or hey, can you help me? He focused, and he still to this day very rarely will ever speak about what's happening to him. Every once in a while, like his blog posts and stuff that he puts out, just kind of describing what he's going through. But it's like he has been very focused on Julian Assange. And I thought that was, I mean, to be going through your own shit and to not only continue to do your job, like even going so far as to like be a member of the family so you can get in to cover the case, and to be going through all this other stuff and just still stay focused on Julian. I mean, to me, that is a pretty cool thing to watch. He's like a really good dude, you know, like that's just the impression I get of him. I've never met him, of course, but I just feel like he's just like a really good dude.
Do you want me to put
I
this
feel
up on
bad.
the screen share, Missy? The article?
Huh?
The
Yeah,
article?
pull it up. Yeah.
I got it right here.
I do not have it right here.
Well, he sounds like someone who has courage, and I think
Yes.
that is something that's being made illegal now. So
Yeah.
You're not allowed to
Do you
have
want me to
that.
read it, Andrew, or do you?
If you could, that would be awesome.
So, okay, I guess I should just read it because it explains it. I suspect I should say as little as possible in the next few days. With apologies to the National, I have copied their story out from behind their firewall. So, given the fact that this did not go his way, obviously he can't really, he's probably a little afraid to say too much right now until, you know, he figures out what's happening. Okay, so this is an article from the National. A former diplomat has instructed his lawyers to begin preparations for an appeal to the Supreme Court after learning he had lost a contempt of court case over his reports from the trial of Alex Salmon in March last year. Craig Murray, the former UK ambassador to Uzbekistan, attended 2 days of the trial at which, is it Salmon? Is that right? Is that how you say it?
Solomon?
Or something like that.
Salmon? I think it's
Salmon.
Salmon? I
I
feel like I'm
think.
saying it wrong, but I can't. I'm
I
so
think
bad at names, you guys.
I thought the dude was on RT or something. So I think it's Salmon.
I don't know.
don't
I'm always really bad at names. Anyways, was found innocent and sat in the public gallery, later writing about it for his blog. However, in January, he faced a virtual contempt of court hearing before Lady Dorian and the Lord Justice Clerk at the High Court of Judiciary in Edinburgh. I'm sure I'm saying Edinburgh wrong. I'm going to get like UK people yelling at me because I know that's wrong. It is now understood that a session for judgment to be delivered will be held at the High Court before Lady Dorian, Lord Turnbull, and Lord Menzies on Thursday, exactly 8 weeks after the initial 90-minute hearing. 90-minute hearing. That's all he got, a 90-minute hearing. Sources close to Murray, 62, indicated that he was advised by court staff and his legal team that if he won the case, the judgment would simply be published. However, if he lost, and particularly if a custodial sentence was probable, there would be a new hearing of the court, which has now been called. Contempt of court carries a maximum sentence of 2 years in prison and an unlimited fine. Last month, Clive Thompson, a 52-year-old from, I don't know, Rosyth? I don't know, was jailed for 6 months for contempt in the same case. Murray is expected to stand as a candidate for Action for Independence, AFI, on the Lothians list in May's Holyrood election. However, if sentenced to a year or more in jail, he will be disqualified from standing. Murray was accused of contempt over publications likely to influence the jury and with jigsaw identification of complainants. I just lost my place. His defense argued that if the Crown believed these were likely to influence the jury, then action should have been taken before the trial and not after. On jigsaw identification, his counsel, John Scott QC, argued that Murray had known the identity of all the complainants for months and had taken care not to give them away. He argued Murray was aware of the names of the complainers even when there was no court order regarding them, but he said it would not be responsible journalism to have named them. The Crown appears to say, just lost my place again. The Crown appears to say there must be a deliberate campaign to drop enough hints so that the complainers can be identified. There's a great deal of evidence showing he was not someone who was fixated on naming the complainers and dropping hints to identify. The fact alone is that he knew about the names. If he wanted to name them, he could have done so. In the 2 months between the hearing and judgment, he has said on social media that the delay was taking a toll on his family and on his mental health. One member of the Murray family told the National, objective evidence shows that the mainstream media published far more jigsaw identification pieces than Craig and were not prosecuted. Asked how Murray felt about the possibility of being jailed, they said, well, obviously not happy. Well, no fucking shit. How's he supposed to feel about it, assholes? Sorry. Nadira and he have a 1-month-old son, and he's not in good health nor getting any younger, but never underestimate his commitment and principle. He is a lot tougher than he looks. And then that's where the article ends. And Craig then says, I should be grateful if you would now go to the national website and poke about a bit so they don't lose any advertising revenue. So he's just giving a shout out to the national. Because he just like copy and pasted their article from behind a paywall because, you know, fuck them. Anyway, yeah. So this dude it's clear he's being targeted. He's being railroaded. He's 62. He has a family. He's stressed the fuck out. And this is really mostly because he has a relationship with Julian Assange. I think that's...
Well, and he's running for public office too.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
yeah. And they don't...
That's to me, that's
There you
another big part of the story. Is
Yeah.
they're targeting him politically.
George Galloway's running for office, and they're going after him too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw something about that where like he had like some death threats or some shit. Like he had to leave he had to leave Scotland or some shit.
And how's that any different to what Bolsonaro did to Lula da Silva in Brazil? How's that any different from what Lenin Moreno was doing to, if I can remember names of the Ecuadorian president before him, targeting him, driving him out of the country? That's something that fascists do across the board. If there is a political rival that you have and you have the power to target them with your authoritarianism, you do it. And if a rule says you have to be in jail for a year to never hold office, they'll put you in fucking jail for a year for a speeding ticket just to make that happen.
Yeah, that's what we're up against, fams. It's really bad. So I would encourage everybody to go to Craig Murray's website. Is it Craig Murray what is it, Andrew?
CraigMurray.org.uk. I'm putting it in the chats for everybody right now.
Okay. Yeah. So go to his website, support his work if you are able to. I'm sure he has a subscription thing. I might be subscribed to him actually, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. Yeah. So support his work if you're able to. Share his work. Talk about his case on social media. Do the hashtag I stand with Craig Murray. That's kind of the hashtag I think that they've been trying to use to call attention to this. He's not like I said, he's not very vocal about like himself. So we really do need to, I think, stand with him and show him support because he needs it. And it's kind of like, you know, the David McBride thing that's going on right now. Like we need to rally around these people, people who have that kind of courage. We need to rally around them so that way they know that they have, you know, like a little army to back them up. And maybe we can help counterbalance some of the fear that the establishment has been able to put on, like we were talking about earlier, how there's been like a chilling effect on whistleblowers and journalists and all that stuff. We can kind of try to counterbalance that. Like if we really support them, like support Chelsea Manning, go visit her on Twitch, donate to her GoFundMes, support John Kiriakou however you can. Does he have a GoFundMe or something? He should, because I know he's still dealing with a lot of legal shit, like legal fees and shit like that.
John or Craig? Because Craig does have a legal defense.
I know Craig does. I've donated to Craig's. But I'm just like all whistleblowers, all of these people, like all of them, John Kiriakou, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, however you can help him, if you can, you know, call your congressperson and ask them to support him and to, you know, be able to come home or whatever you can do to support these people. That's the point I'm trying to make here badly. You know, if we can try to counterbalance the fear that they have been, all of us have been instilled with by the examples that they've shown us with how they have treated Chelsea Manning in the past or Julian Assange. If we can counterbalance that by supporting these people, like really full force supporting them, you know, maybe we can encourage more people to come forward.
I thought, just on a whole side note, I thought Katie Halper's thing overall was really cool.
The telethon thing?
Yeah, because it was directly targeted at getting people to call their local representatives and being like, hey, I demand this.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to give a shout out to that telethon. We chose not to do a show that day, just kind of in support of it. So congrats to those people. Yeah,
there's a lot like, okay, yes. I'll leave it there. I'll be nice. It was a good idea. They had great guests. They had Kevin Gastola on, and Chris Hedges, Justin Jackson. I love Justin. I think he's great. I wish they would have talked to him more about Assange and less about forced vote. But hey, can you do? But yeah,
It's
they
all
had some good
related.
people on. Huh?
It's all related. Same war
Yeah.
criminals.
I mean, they
prevent
had
us
Marjorie
from having
Cohen on,
everything.
right? Marjorie Cohen. That's good. I like it. Yeah, there were some good guests. I'll be okay. Bigger person, being nice here. Okay.
It was.
Just
I
saying.
liked the direct action that was involved in it. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
I was
Colin-
very shocked to
Colin
see
was
that
good.
on my timeline.
Huh?
I would love to see more.
I was shocked to see that on my timeline. I was like, oh, that's exciting.
The whole goal
Yeah.
of the vigils was to try to become the smallest fish doing what we're doing. So seeing
Mhm.
things like that start happening, I would love to encourage it because
Yeah, like that's the whole fucking point. My favorite thing in the whole world is people who say that we try to take credit for other people's activism or that we like think that we own the Assange issue. Oh my God. The only thing we have ever done is push for more people to get involved and encourage people to start their own shows and
separate from
boost other
us.
people's work. And that's all we have
Yeah.
ever done. It's so ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's just I've been dealing with a lot of trolls today, so that just happened to pop into my head. Seriously, I've been dealing with a lot of trolls today. Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
The level of stupid I've been in all day today. I'm sorry. Sometimes a girl's got to vent. All right, so should we talk anything else about Craig Murray, or did we pretty much can Andrew, do you know how the donation link? Can you also
Should
throw that in the
be-
chat for people?
It's at the bottom of the article.
Okay,
So I
cool.
put the article in. If you scroll to
Yeah,
the
if
bottom,
you're able
of
to
it,
donate, definitely do because he has a lot of legal fees and shit. It's so bad. He's really getting railroaded and it's terrible. So yeah, like there's a lot of people you can like David McBride, Craig Murray. Who am I missing? Because I know I'm missing Ola Benny. Check into that. I know I'm missing like I'm
I can't remember the guy's name, but the Vault 7 whistleblower.
oh is it Daniel Hale or am I superimposing? I'm so bad at names.
We're so bad with names.
I give you shit, but I really am too. I don't know why.
I think is it Josh Schultz?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Schultz sounds familiar.
Yeah. Where's the chat? Chat.
But I would like to do. Can we do some happy news? Can we do a little?
Yeah, I like happy
stuff?
news. Let's do that.
So it's not all. It's happy news because Chelsea's out of prison. Chelsea's been out of prison for over 365 days. It's 369 now. Hopefully my numbers are accurate and I don't sound really dumb. But I wanted to go over just some stuff, just to highlight what she's been through. There's some really great letters that her and Kevin Gostola exchanged while she was in Leavenworth. And I wanted to highlight one of those. We have the video of when she got out on May 10th, 2019, before she was put back into jail again. So yeah, I'm gonna get this pulled up here, and then we have the way that the Department of Justice went after her with the way that they did the fines in the grand jury. We have a write-up of her statement that Kevin Gostola put together as well. And for those of you who don't know, Kevin over at shadowproof.com.
Support his work.
Yes, dissenter.substack. He taught us a very, very important skill, and that is never stop, never ever stop, because eventually you will have to be recognized because you are the person that has done it the best for the longest. So big appreciation to him for pointing that out for us.
Yeah, Kevin's a good dude. Definitely go support his work, support Shadowproof. They do amazing work, especially if you're into whistleblowers and following their cases. Kevin's your dude. He's very on top of things.
Do you want to read this, Misty?
I can. Are you like, am I like the designated reader?
I mean, I can read it if you'd like. You're a much better reader than me, though.
It's fine. I feel like I read too fast. I talk too fast. I do that a lot. Okay, so
Letters from one.
yeah, this is from 5. Is this from 5 years ago?
Yep.
So that's it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Whoa.
I'm trying to find Kevin Gostola's part here. I think it's the first. So this is 2 parts. This is Kevin's letter to Chelsea, and then Chelsea's letter back to Kevin.
Okay. So, dear Chelsea, I greatly appreciate your response to my first letter. Unfortunately, I do not have an answer for why I waited more than 2 years after your trial to write you. I do know I do know I am glad I finally wrote you a letter. In this letter, I will ask you a few questions about what you shared and raise some new subjects I did not touch upon in my first letter. When you reply, you will no longer be on recreation restriction. What was it like to live under this punishment in Leavenworth for 21 days? I imagine the punishment piled on top of the military's refusal to let you grow out your hair may have been rather agonizing at times. And also, if you can answer, why were you unable to get a more formal trial as you requested? I saw your first post from Medium where you recount how you handled the news that the military will require you to keep your hair short. If I understand correctly, your ACLU lawyer, Chase Strangu, I don't know, will fight this in court. What are the next steps to ending this prohibition against growing your hair? And what gives you hope that you will prevail one day, be able to grow out your hair? Some victories against the Army have already been won. That you managed to battle and push the Defense Department to provide hormone treatment was momentous. You are in one of the worst places to live openly as a trans person, a United States military prison, yet you maintain the fight to be yourself. How do you see what you are doing as a model for other trans people who face adverse situations? I was particularly struck by the statement in your letter, I can't be myself. Every time I try to assert my existence or define myself on my own terms, I get beat up by the world. I'm really scared, bloodied. Oh, this is hard to read. Bloodied and bruised at this point. While it is easy to want to give up, there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who support you in your continued struggles, including your effort to live openly as a woman and your appeal in your case. I imagine you sometimes have trouble finding the time to read all the mail you receive, but it must provide you considerable strength to connect with people on the outside who are inspired and grateful for what you've done over the past 5 to 6 years. What is it like to read a letter from a supporter? There are artists who have been inspired by you. Singer Graham Nash wrote a song called Almost Gone and brought significant attention to your case. Singers Cass McCombs and David Rovics, yay David, wrote songs about you. A play about you was developed by Tim Price and performed at the National Theatre Wales. A short featuring 8-bit retro video game animation was created by Adam Butcher, who is based in the United Kingdom. An array of actors, musicians, and other well-known people in the world have previously expressed support. What, if anything, were you most amazed to find out had been inspired by you and your case? And who were you most pleased or shocked sent you a letter? Anyone you never imagined would write you? In my previous letter, I asked about the Army confiscating your copy of the Senate Intelligence Committee report on the CIA's torture program. The issue of censorship of reading materials in prisons is critical. There are a number of well-known books banned from Guantanamo Bay Military Prison, including An American Slave by Frederick Douglass, The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare, Trainspotting by Irvin Welsh. And one I recall was on your reading list, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. It now would appear some of the books confiscated from your cell could be considered banned books. In addition to that episode, are there any specific books the Army has ever refused to let you read? On a much less serious note, what are you reading now? And is there anything on your list you're looking forward to reading? I very much enjoyed the response you gave to my questions about movies, and it is good you have chances to break up the monotony and misery of prison every now and then with a movie. Die Hard is a brilliantly conceived action movie. Mean Girls was... like Kevin Gastola talking about Mean Girls with Chelsea Manning is like really endearing to me right now. Mean Girls, which was adapted into a script by the extraordinary Tina Fey, left a huge mark on our generation. In fact, I wonder if you have ever felt like the Army must draw inspiration from Mean Girls when deciding how to treat you. I cannot say I have a favorite high school coming-of-age comedy, but I do have a favorite coming-of-age comedy. Big. Good choice, Kevin. Big with Tom Hanks is great because we all have moments as kids where we wish we could be adults. When we become adults and experience life's regular trials and tribulations and wish we could be kids again. The film also reminds us not to take life so seriously all the time. Those moments when we get to play and have fun are to be treasured. Okay, do you want me to keep reading about movies?
Yeah, I'll pick up with the response. It's almost there. There's like a...
Okay. The Marvel films can be excellent popcorn entertainment. I rather enjoyed Captain America: Winter Soldier. However, it has a bit of a subversive message, as it somewhat deals with the effect of the security state on privacy and liberty. Has the Army screened that one at the prison? Back in 1999, the Wachowskis set the bar for science fiction films with their techno-dystopian vision, The Matrix. Popularized the idea of taking the red pill or the blue pill. Most of your supporters would probably say you took the red pill. For making that choice, you live a more difficult life, but at least you now know the truth of reality. It has been a delight to exchange letters. I will anxiously anticipate another letter from you in the not so distant future. Best, Kevin Gostola.
So that's super. I love just the way that Kevin writes. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like his little movie reviews. Like
yeah, the extraordinary Tina Fey.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin.
I'm gonna have to remind him of that one.
Yeah.
But so this was Chelsea's response to Kevin. And I'll try my best not to butcher it. I can't do too well reading. But let's do this. Kevin, you are absolutely welcome to write to me. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. I'm glad you asked about my recreation restriction last month and earlier this month. The timing was awfully emotional. The day that I started restriction lined up in such a way with the awful news about the fact that I'm going to have to go through another long, drawn-out legal battle over something very simple and personal happening about the same time. I felt very hurt, a lot more than expected. To take such matters worse, my main outlet for emotional support and comfort when I'm feeling depressed, anxious, lonely, or hurt is music. I don't have access to anything that stores music whatsoever, but I do have a radio, and that was taken away the same day. It compounded everything by making me sit alone in a quiet, empty cell. I felt really, really small and insignificant. I haven't felt that bad in years. I was denied formal trial regarding the changes this summer because the prison claims that I was denied formal trial regarding the charges this summer because the prison claims that the charges are administrative and not criminal. They argue that because they are created by a regulation and not by a law, they are purely administrative. Yet an administrative board in lieu of a court-martial outside of the prison affords far more protections for personnel in the military than these boards for inmates. This is troubling because these boards for prison discipline yield far, far more power than most administrative boards in the military, such as the non-judicial punishment boards under Article 15, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The problem with these boards, as we saw in August, is that they're basically rigged by senior staff. You can't win once your charges go to a more serious 3-member board, because the board must be approved by the senior staff to go ahead. So unless you provide the senior staff with the senior staff of the facility with the information, typically by informing on other inmates, then you're going to serve SHU time, pronounced SHU, in the special housing unit, where inmates are normally held for months or years in conditions of solitary confinement. The way that board members sees people at the way the board members see people at the 3-member board is that you must have done something to make it such so that they will always dole out some kind of punishment. I believe there are 2 reasons that I didn't receive anything beyond recreational restriction. 1, the public scrutiny and fear of pressure from military leadership, and 2, to prevent me from being able to appeal to a higher authority within the regulation. As to answer your question regarding being a model for other trans people in adverse situations, I have absolutely no idea. I'm really only fighting a very personal battle that very quickly gets dragged into the public no matter what I do. For example, when I tried to petition for a change of name in Kansas in early 2014, I tried to do it quietly and succeeded for a while. And then with only a few weeks until the actual hearing, it spilled over into the news. I wanted my name change to be nothing more than a formality, but it turned into a little bit of a circus. Even the spokesperson for the Army at the time had to comment. I have since stopped trying to do things quietly anymore. I'm a little more forthcoming regarding my battles now. I wrote a statement saying that I cannot be myself while I was still on recreational restriction, so it is really raw and emotional. Actually, the whole letter is probably more raw. This is a reflection of just how personal these battles are. I spend nearly an hour to an hour and a half every week in psychotherapy talking about even more than this. Regarding letters from supporters, reading letters from supporters has become a personal pastime in the last few years. At first, when I was in the Marine Corps' brick in Quantico, I was not able to read them because I had to add people to the list of names and addresses to send and receive mail. So they were from complete strangers. I was a little perplexed and curious. Who are these people? Why are they writing to me? Why are there so many letters? Since then, I'm allowed to go through every single piece of mail, and I have made it a sometimes challenging policy to read through every single one. I don't have the resources to respond to everyone, and the majority of the letters and cards don't have return addresses anyways, but I read every single one. The really personal, emotional, tough letters to read are the ones from other trans people. I really relate with all of them. I try my best to reach out to them because I want them to know that I appreciate their support. I especially tear up when I get letters from queer and trans kids and teenagers. I was one of them once. I remember those years intimately. I'm glad the world has changed a little bit, but it worries me that these young kids are growing up with such a disadvantage. I'm just getting emotional thinking about it. Right now, it doesn't appear that there's any kind of ban on political books. However, I believe that the investigators and seniors tend to send a message and prove a point by confiscating them. I still haven't received the books and magazines back. I have read many controversial books over the years, as well as books that are basically the backbone of any formal philosophy or political science education. It wasn't until around the last week of May this year that friction over such books started, and I haven't seen any formal bans. Yes, they did play Captain America Winter Soldier here at the prison. It's typically the movies with a lot of strong or violent sexual content that don't get played here. Movies like David Fisker's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I was only able to watch the movie during a break in the trial. At trial, guards brought portable DVD players for long breaks, and we could eat food and popcorn and watch movies while watching movies. The scary looking guards taking me out of the courthouse in 2013 were great guys. I liked them a lot. I just watched the Avengers Age of Ultron this week. Another fun treat of a movie to just sit and watch and enjoy, preferably with snacks. I saved a bag of Doritos from the ration order just for the occasion. I think it's very interesting that all the comedians and actresses that the late Christopher Hitchens cited as being unfunny, ones like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, are some of the ones that I find the funniest. I wonder what he would have thought about Amy Schumer. With warm regards, Chelsea Manning.
Christopher Hitchens would have hated Amy Schumer, I think. Pretty sure.
No more 20-minute articles, dude.
Okay, that's fair. I just thought that was a really cool view.
That was a lot.
Going through.
That
was brutally long.
Yeah. But it is cool to see Kevin Gastola communicating with Chelsea Manning. As it's just kind of cool to look back on now that she's finally been out of prison for a year. I hope she's doing well. Like I said earlier, jump on her Twitch stream.
Yeah.
If you can. Find her on Twitch. Send her some love.
Send people letters. Send these political prisoners letters right to Julian.
Yes.
Message Chelsea's Twitter account and just say thank you. Like, send them letters of support, because even now that she's not in that situation, I'm sure there's still times that it would still help. And writing letters to Julian right now, I think, would be.
Yes, please.
You gotta realize too, she doesn't want to deal with any of that stuff in her chat.
Oh no, I'm not talking about chat. I'm talking like DMs.
I would be highly surprised if her DMs are open. I wouldn't have them open. I don't have mine open, and I'm not Chelsea Manning.
I get the feeling she just wants to relax and chill for a while.
Yeah, so. But if you pop on Twitch and just be respectful, be nice. Don't be nosy and annoying and talk about it and ask a bunch of questions. Just pop over and just say, hey, we support you. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just show her a little bit of love. I'm sure she, I know she did have a GoFundMe around her birthday. She also had one when she had her fines. Like, y'all, we paid off her fines in like 36 hours.
Yeah,
It was that was
fucking
one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed on Twitter. I was like live tweeting that shit. Like I was checking it and then like, oh my gosh, we've already raised like $12,000. And then like I'd check it again 5 minutes later. Oh my God. Like I have like a whole thread of like freaking out over
dude,
watching.
You know that chapped their ass, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was seriously like 36 hours done. Boom. Suck on it. Like it was great. It was seriously, Twitter is like a hellhole most of the time, but sometimes some really cool things come from Twitter or happen on Twitter. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like I was like, seriously couldn't stop tweeting about it. Couldn't stop like I just kept checking it like compulsively to see, like, I just kept like refreshing my screen. Oh my God, look at that. Refreshing it again. Oh my God, look at that. Like it was just so fast and it was amazing. It was really
one of the
awesome.
things that like gave more breath into the movement, or people that had been fighting saw like at least there's people out there willing to do that. Like we got that.
Well, yes.
She got that paid off so fast. She raised additional money to help support her in life outside.
It gave me hope for Julian, actually. Like that was another one of those times where there's been multiple times during the last like 2 years where I felt defeated. Like I said one time, Nils Melzer, I was like, when Nils Melzer first came out, I was in like a really bad place where I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's depressing. Like I can't. And then Nils Melzer comes out and completely rocked my world. And I was like, okay, we can do this. We can do this. And the paying off Chelsea's fines was another one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is so hard. And then I see something like that and I'm like, okay, we can do this. Like we can do this. There are smart people out there who get it.
Sounds similar to how I felt when we were out on the second day, Wednesday, in front of the DOJ, when there were so many people who were honking, like when we were waving and with our signs, for Assange. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like, and maybe it's just because it was DC, but also anyone just drives through there. So I was like, oh,
well, it's even more shocking that we're in DC and we get that response because that's like insider people. Like you're inside the belt. Like, those are insider people, and we were still getting honks and waves. And I mean, we had that one guy on the first day when Pasta was speaking that like was yelling, yeah, out of his window, and Steve like chased him down to tell him that we were going to be at the DOJ the next day. Like it was, and we got that in January too.
We had 4 or 5 people that we met in the street on the first day that then came the second day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's growing. Like it really is. That's why I keep telling people to just keep pushing. Like the matchmaking thing. Yes, you may not find somebody right away. Like it may take me a little while to find somebody in your area, but we will find people. Like it's growing. It is happening. I wish it was happening faster, like much faster. Like it would be great if by April 11th we could have thousands and thousands of people in the streets. That would be dope. I don't think we're there, but we're getting there. Like it's just, I just hope we can get there before it's too late.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to
translate.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, like figuring out how to translate hunks into
showing
action.
up. And
You chase the car down. That's how you do it.
That's what Steve did.
Yeah.
Chase him down.
The car down.
Yeah.
And big shout out to everyone that helped us get to DC. Big shout out to everyone that came out, because we had new faces there. We had people that we met at other events that turned out again.
So fun.
We should be planning something for the East Coast for the 11th, but I know that there are actions taking place down in North Carolina that have already been started planning wise. There may be some up in Michigan too. So we're going to sit down and figure out what's happening on the East Coast.
There's going to be East Coast stuff. I know that Steve, Convo Couch, Glory, they're trying to get something together on the West Coast because we've never done anything West Coast. So we're trying to kind of spread it out. And I think it would be kind of cool if we can kind of spread out a little bit this time and, do like a West Coast thing and then try to get something like in Michigan or Chicago, and then try to get something in Ohio, in North Carolina, if somebody can do something in DC that lives in DC or around the DC area. If we can start getting like little pocket protests.
I'm pretty sure someone's already starting to plan DC stuff too.
Yeah, I'm not trying. I don't want to until we have
it sounds like it's going to happen.
I would say probably. But there's going to be actions. There will be actions. Don't worry about it. There's going to be something for you to do. And again, if we don't have something planned for you to do in your area, then you plan something for your area and we'll help you.
Even if it's something simple, even if it's literally just you going out there with a sign for 45 minutes, like that's.
Dude, we had.
I guarantee you will get
Tulsa,
more.
those two people in Tulsa. I
Tulsa,
forgot their
yes,
names.
that's what I was. Yes, that's what I was just. Okay, so I want to make sure I get their names right. So I'm trying to find it in my
I'm
DMs.
bad with that, so you
Their
gotta
Twitter.
do
Oh,
it.
maybe I shouldn't. Should I not do it out loud? Maybe because maybe they don't want it. I don't know. They
Well,
posted it. I don't know.
shout
I
out
hate,
for holding up Tulsa.
yes, you know who you are, because I hate, like, I don't ever want to like overstep somebody's boundaries, and I didn't ask them if I could mention them on air. So yeah, you know who you are. My fams in Tulsa, you know who you are. They've like this is their first direct action, and it was just them with some signs outside. Like, that's it, and that's all it is. That's all it is. And all you need is like poster board, or even like a cardboard. Like if you have a box laying around, you can use the back side of or whatever, and a marker. You're done. That's it. That's all you need. If you can print out like some informational flyers or whatever in case somebody has questions. If you want us to like help give you like the basics, because I understand that the Assange case is very complicated. It's like decade long nonsense, and there's a lot of nuance and moving pieces. So, but if you want, like, if you don't feel comfortable right now talking about the Assange case, like in a way that you think would, get across the message, and I'll help you. Like, I'll like point you to some resources and like some quick study guides where you can like figure out some talking points that you can get across, and maybe some rebuttals to some common, arguments against Assange or whatever. Like, I'm serious. We will help you. I know I say it all the time. I'm not kidding. Hit me up. I will help you. I will find somebody to help you. We will do whatever we have to do. Like, we really do want to grow this movement. Like, that's the whole fucking point. So I've been doing this for 90 weeks. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point. You think we're just doing this for shits and giggles?
And the whole point on top of that is not to grow a movement centered around us or around a person or around a political party. It is around, like we were talking, like Jordan was talking about, it is around getting individuals to demand their own agency. So that way, when something like this is happening, it doesn't take a central leader or a political figurehead to stand up and say, let's fight. There's people that are willing to just say, this is wrong. Let's do something. Meet me here.
Yeah. And we need to, and it needs to be even further, like taking it farther than, just Assange. It is bigger than Assange. We really do have to start branching out and focusing on other aspects of censorship, like Combo Couch has been doing, or all of those things, talking about other whistleblowers, talking about just like protecting free speech and the First Amendment. Like, there needs to be branches. Like, we got to all branch out and find our, work together, but like find our own little spot where we can be most effective. But yeah, it can't be, it has to be just decentralized. It has to be, focused on a mission, but very much about the mission and not about any one group or person or leader or what. That's not, that's not what this needs to be about. Totally agree, Andrew.
Because even the one individual going out there, like, that's how I started. It was literally just putting up posters locally, going to VFWs and putting up posters that say no more torture. Going to media organizations that say, putting up posters that say journalism isn't criminal, free Julian Assange. I got ticketed on the 3rd of July on Julian's birthday for going down a progressive college town street, hanging up no more torture, free Chelsea Manning, free Julian Assange signs. And it turned into this whole big public hubbub because someone put a political sign up the day before the 4th of July. But every individual has the power to make an impact in their community, because you don't realize how close the boot is to your neck until you're actually in your streets and an armed officer says, get in the car for putting up a poster. Like people don't realize how much has been taken from us until you start to actually use it. So please do what you can with the time and money that you have, because we don't have much time left at this point.
We really don't. It's really gotten so bad.
And
it's really only getting worse. I'm losing my voice. Do you guys hear it? Like, it keeps cracking really bad. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what that's about, but I'm losing my voice.
We should wrap up in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, because I am losing my voice.
I was just going to say what I've thought about with what's happening with Assange is that I'm going to get so annoyed. Like, if something happens to him, like the worst case scenario, if he's no longer with us, like, I'm gonna be so angry when the news starts reporting him, and I'm just that to me is just, because they're going to
That's
report him in
failure
all
to
this
me.
positive light, and he was like, he was a hero. I mean, that's what they do with all of these political leaders. I mean, that's what they do with MLK, with Malcolm X, and like, and
Jordan,
like,
that's coming.
shut up.
TYT and the squad are going to be like,
Oh my
Julian
God.
Assange was such a hero, and he was, blah. That's coming. Cenk Uygur is going to be like, we supported Assange this whole time. You know he is. You know he is. And then he'll like tweet back to like, you know, a video he made 9 years ago and be like, see, we supported it. That's exactly what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to, I don't even like to think about it because honestly, like the idea that, like that's failure to me. Like that would be failure to me. I would feel really horrible about that. Really horrible.
And it's not just him, but they do it with everyone, you know. It's
oh, look what they did to John McCain, for God's sake. AOC called him like a example of human decency. Fuck off. Oh, gross. That's gross. That should have been, if that wasn't your first clue that this bench was not your friend, I don't know what.
When she said Mama Bear, I was done. I mean,
done
I'd already
her,
been teetering, but
I was done with her when her first vote was her first vote or one of her first votes was to expand NATO. I was like, what? I'm sorry, excuse me? Yeah. Well, excuse me? What was that? And she did what now? Yeah, that was done then. That was pretty early on. That was like her first week. I was like, oh, okay.
The Andrew Cuomo endorsements where me and Nico drew the line when she was like, I'd vote for any Democrat, even Cuomo.
I don't, and there are still people who are pretending like she's our friend.
Because it's sports. It's sports.
It's worse than sports, man. It is worse. Sports, there's nobody's life is on the line. Like when I go cheer for the Ohio State Buckeyes, nobody's gonna die if we win or lose. Like, but when AOC bullshits you and gaslights you and lies to you and then doesn't do what she claims she's gonna do and she doesn't fight for anything that's gonna help anybody other than herself, people die. Like, that's real talk. Like this, like, again, it's not a fucking game. People making excuses for these politicians who are killing people. I'm sorry, either by action or inaction, you're responsible for people dying. And I don't know why people aren't more upset about that and angry, because it's very clear that they're not doing anything. No, she straight up told you she couldn't fight for Medicare for all because $15 an hour is more doable. And then she didn't even fight for that either. Not like there was no fight. There was no fight. There was like a tepid disagreement and then it was over and she caved. And she didn't use any leverage. She didn't threaten to vote against the bill. Nothing. She did fucking nothing. She did nothing. Okay, so she can't fight for Medicare for all because $15 an hour is more doable, and then she doesn't do that either, and you're still going to defend her? Okay.
I take it back. My line in the sand for her was not the Mama Bear comments. It was when she didn't speak up for Assange, and it was around this time. It was around the time things were really, really bad with Maduro as well, and it was just like thing after thing. She was just not it was just clear she doesn't really care about foreign policy issues.
No.
And she's just getting us angry for nothing. For things that like she's not going to do anything. Like it's just all talk. It's just all talk with her.
Well, she's playing her role. That's her role. Her role is to ignore foreign policy, distract us from foreign policy, and sheepdog people into a completely corrupted system and party so that we continue the status quo. That's her role. And she's playing it. And she's very good. I mean, she's very effective at what she does. But she's not your friend. And I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that. And I know that like my trolls are going to, they love it when I talk about AOC, but fuck off. She's not your friend. She's not my friend anyway. She's no ally of mine. I don't give a fuck. Come at me.
It brings it back to like not needing a central leader. Like from what we've seen in history time and time again, particularly, especially in like the civil rights era in the 60s, like anytime there is a leader, and you're dependent on that person, they take them out and then the movement's left in shambles. So it can't, like, that's why I'm very passionate about this idea that like it's not gonna happen in this centralized needing to find the next Fred Hampton, needing to find the next MLK and Malcolm X. Like it's not gonna be that way. It's gonna have to be all of us becoming our own version of a Fred Hampton. And but you know, which is a very empowering message, like, because wouldn't you love to be your own version of him? Like wouldn't you love to step into your own power like that?
And also
like,
part of like a collective of other individual versions of him, you know, like it's not because what you're saying could sound very like isolationist, like, oh, we're very individualized, like no, but that's not really what it is. It's you have to get yourself right so that you can be part of the bigger picture in a more effective way. And
Julian said it best when he was talking about action versus inaction and how people train themselves to accept injustice.
Yes.
And that by not taking action, you are training yourself to
not defend your family, your loved ones, yourself, your rights. Yeah.
And because courage is contagious and willpower is a muscle. So if we can get people infected and get them exercising their willpower, then we can
fucking back
and
down.
You can't pay attention to all the controlled opposition of like getting us to hate our individuality, like and getting us to be completely selfless. Like, no, it's always about a balance. You have to balance working with other people and working with yourself. You have to balance like the collective benefits and also the individual benefits. And where you get taken advantage of, especially politically, is when you go to one side or the other. And like, I mean, particularly like with the Republicans and the Democrats, the Republicans are the rugged individualism, complete individualism, not when it comes to corporate stuff, you know, but like in general, like the archetype is like it's about all of your individual rights and don't care about anyone else. And then on the Democrat side, it seems like it's like everyone just be collective and don't care about yourself at all, you know, give to others, serve others. And it's just like, no, like you are an individual. There has to be a balance with that. And yeah, so we can't fall for that controlled opposition that's getting us to hate your individual power, because that's exactly what they're scared of. Yeah.
Stop hating your neighbors. That's not the enemy, y'all. The enemy is like wearing a $5,000 suit sitting in an office somewhere. That's the enemy.
So Jordan, I would like to thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
If you could let people know where they can find you.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of things that I'm spreading out now. So I've been, since the pandemic, I've been called to just write, make sense of the world, just put what's on my mind, whether it be pop culture, political, spiritual, philosophical. And that is, I call it the Diary of Mad Black Virgo. Mad and angry and also just going insane. But yeah, you can find that on my Twitter, a link on my Twitter and my Instagram. My Instagram is just simply @MadBlackVirgo. My Twitter is oh gosh.
I feel you, girl.
Mad Black Virgo. Say it multiple times. It'll stick. @MadBlackVirgo1. And then I'm also moving to TikTok as well with @MadBlackVirgo7. So if you type it @MadVirgo, I was shocked that it's not a name that was already taken. But if you type that in on most social media websites, you should find it, even Pinterest. So yeah, and so I'm doing that. I'm writing, I'm considering, it's a Google Doc right now, but I'm still shopping all the different things like media and Substack and everything, still shopping that out. And I also do things called tilts, which is things I learned today, where I just like post 3 things that I've learned, where I've like things I've talked about as a zillennial, a lot of High School Musical, but also talked about how the Florida government released in 2020, or at the beginning of this year, they released a whole bunch of genetically modified mosquitoes. Just did it, and it's like an experiment, the biggest experiment of that company's done in a long time, and just a lot of other things. I posted about the Assange action last week, and just a a lot of different things that are going on. And I just want to share information, normalize sharing information in a healthy way, exchanging information. I think that's one of the best things humans can do, which has been under attack, which is, again, like, we can't fall for that controlled opposition of not wanting to share information. Like, we can't demonize that. Because we're never going to learn if we don't, learn how to do it together, if we don't do it. So yeah, you can find me at Mad Black Virgo on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And just I'm happy to create a community of knowledge and people who love knowledge. So
Very cool.
And I'm very grateful for you all. It was so great to meet you and hang out. So
100%.
Yeah. My name's
so
Andrew. Yeah, thank you. My name is Andrew Smith. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Sigmund. You can find us on Twitter as Missy realizes she has to close last.
Did you notice? Okay. I
You
just
can
had
find
that.
us on Twitter at action_4 Assange. We will be getting April 11th stuff up on the website. Please begin planning your own local actions. We're probably not going to have a big central GoFundMe or anything. At least, not sure. We're still in the planning process. So thank you guys very much, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
And I'll say Steve's line.
Okay. Okay. That makes me feel less like I have to close then. Okay. So I'm Misty Winston. You can find me on Twitter at Sarcasm Stardust. I'm on Twitter all the time. Come find me. I'll help you with Assange stuff or free speech stuff or whatever else the fuck you want to do. So I have another show called Facts on the Ground with Jesse Zerwell. We have some pretty cool stuff coming up. We are tentatively going to be interviewing Alex Rubinstein. He had some personal stuff, so we may have to reschedule that. I'm not sure. But then on Saturday, we have Jesse Jett coming back for another live stream. He's going to perform some more songs. He has a new spoken word piece that he's going to be doing. So I'm super pumped about that. I love him. I love his work. So that'll be fun. He may be in the chat. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, but if he is, hi, Jesse. Thanks everybody who came to DC. Seriously, I'm not gonna name names because I'll forget people and then I'll feel really terrible about it. But meeting everybody was super cool. Having real life interactions with Twitter people that I've been interacting with for a long time and feel like I know, and that was so much fun. And so yeah, thanks to everybody that came out. Thanks to everybody that donated, that helped us get there. It was very successful. I think we had a lot of fun. We made a lot of noise, and it was a blast. Also, I was just on Moment of Clarity today, earlier on the 5 o'clock show with Lee Camp on his live stream. So check that out. It was so much fun. I was super nervous, of course, you guys know. But yeah, it was fun. He was super easy to talk to, and it was a blast. So check that out. And tell him he should have me back, because seriously, that was fun. And I always feel like I'm forgetting stuff, but one of these days I'm going to come prepared with a list of things I need to mention, but that day's not today. So Sleepy Josh, over to you.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Good luck to us all.